See, I got me an idea, and I'ma put it to work, and I'ma gauge my progress by the sign of the word. Now I ain't yet a success, but yes, the word that I stress, cause by the time you hear the CD, count the steps that I play.
Every
I'm passing
time
on
I
to your
try to
rebels, it's
get
just a
out,
matter of time.
they pull me back in. You already know what that. If you don't know, y'all need to go to like Hulu or Amazon or wherever it is that they got it, and you need to watch Scarface. Arguably one of the greatest movies of all times, right? So let's get into it today. I'm going to explain what that movie's all about and why I said it, right? But let's get into it because I go by the name of Pablo Rivera, and this is Make It Happen Monday. Yeah, so if you're watching this, you already part of the Make It Happen you part of the Watch Me Make It Happen movement, Watch and Make It Happen Mondays, right? So, listen, we're going to get into it. We've been doing we've been doing it for a little over a year, and we started our new fiscal year, right? With the new resolution of to be resolute in our pursuit of our goals, right? So this ain't gonna be no different, right? But last week I asked you guys, I said, listen, what I want you to do is I want you to run with no music, right? So how many of y'all did that? Right? If you did, because I wanted you to run with no music and I wanted you to run with music, right? So how did it feel when you ran with no music? It's crazy, right? Because you be getting in your head. You be getting in your head and you think of everything. And it ain't necessarily even negative thoughts, right? It's just, I call it like preoccupied thoughts. You know what I mean? The thoughts that you have that are going on in the back of your head the whole day that you don't necessarily focus on. But when you're running and you ain't doing nothing else but running, all of those thoughts back here can come up here. And you could be thinking like, man, I got to organize my day better. Or, oh, you know what? I got to remember to wash this because my daughter needs it for whatever practice she's going to. You know what I'm saying? Like it could be a whole bunch of things and it's all right. But what is not good is when you start thinking too much into those things and it takes away from your movement, right? And you start slowing down, you start doing whatever, right? So you got your brain kind of going away from the running, right? But you know you're running, so there's the wrestling. There's the wrestling match, right? Now, when you run with music, yeah, your brain continues to go not on the running, but you ain't necessarily think of anything that you really need brain power for, right? You going on that journey, you know what I mean? Because that music, it can raise you, it can drop you, you know what I mean? It can carry you. And then what you're doing is your brain is preoccupied in not specific thought, but like entertaining thought. You see what I'm saying? Or motivational thought, you know what I mean? Inspirational thought, because that's where the music can take you. You see what I'm saying? So again, running with music is great because your body's still getting the impact. You know what I'm saying? I almost said physiological impact, but I'm not 100% sure if that was the right word. And I don't want people messaging me like, yo, man, physiological don't mean that, right? But whatever. Your body's still getting the impact. It's still getting the positive effect of running, even though your mind is going into the music, right? So it's a good practice. But when we're talking about the ability to change mindsets, right? The ability to work through life in a certain mind state, you know what I'm saying? We need to be able to control our mind, right? And that's where that exercise came in. And for those of you who don't run or can't run, right? For those who don't run, I suggested you try it out for however long of a period of time that you can, or jog or walk fast. But for those of you who can't jog or walk fast or even walk for that matter, what I'm looking for, the running was more like an analogy, right? It was a comparison, is that you can run without music. Whatever it is that's strenuous for you to do, right? Strenuous for you to do it with music and then do it without music. And you can see what it is that the differences are that I'm talking about that happen in the mind. So if you got all of that stuff going for you, right? And you know that you got to control your mind, well, how do we go about doing that, right? How do we take our minds and move them from a place that's focused on difficulty, that's focused on trials and trepidations and all of this stuff, right? How do we take the mind that's focused on these difficulties and shift it to positiveness, shift it to inspiration, shift it to gratitude? How do we do that? Right? Again, listen, if it's Johnny on the spot, like, yo, I need a positive mind state right now, it's going to be difficult. I'm telling you, it's going to be difficult. And that's the reason why we need to start practicing that now. You might be saying, listen, like, I need the positive now and I need to practice it now because I'm behind. Listen, that's fine. Everybody got their own starting points, right? Figure out where you are and then we're going to move from there, right? So that's okay. So I said, All we need to do is change the mindset, right? Man, that sounds so easy. Check it out. Oh, you got a hard time? Change the mindset. No problem. See you tomorrow. Oh, you having difficulties? Are you stressed about something? Change your mindset. You'll be all right, right? That sounds so super easy. And then when I sit there and I tell you that music does it like that, well, man, there's something that we can do that can shift our minds, right? If it's as easy as music, then what is it that we can do other than music, or maybe we use music to our advantage, right? We need to create that environment in our mind, right? Because remember, the environment isn't it. It's how we perceive that environment and what it is that we do in it, right? Because we are the masters of our universe. We can control that environment, internal locus of control, right? So last week, I did talk about that. I talked about living a life of gratitude, about finding what it is that makes you happy, finding what it is that makes you proud, and doing so, right? Well, people started calling me up, and I talked to some people and I listened, and they told me that, listen, during bad times, it's difficult, right? And I said, well, then you need to practice it on a daily, right? So check it out. On a daily, I want you to go in front of the mirror or hold your phone up, record yourself, whatever it is that you want to do. And I want you to talk about what it is that you're thankful for, something that you're grateful for, right? So I'm going to start. My name is Pablo Rivera. Right? And I'm super grateful that I had the knowledge, the skills, and the tools to pressure wash a house. Y'all probably sitting here like, hold up, you grateful for being able to do more work? Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. Because we got this house down the road, right? And it was filthy. Now, way back in the day, I say way back in the day, probably like 15 years ago, maybe way back in the day, like 20 years ago, right? I used to have this pressure washing company, right? So I had the skills and I had the knowledge on how to pressure wash and how to pressure wash properly, right? So you don't get streaks and dirty marks and all, whatever, right? So the other house was filthy. I was like, yo, you know what? We need to pressure wash this house. So I went, and not only did I have the knowledge and the experience, but I also had the proper tools to be able to do it, right? Because that right tool makes every job a lot easier when you're doing it, right? You don't want to be screwing in screws with a butter knife, right? So the proper tools, the knowledge, the experience, I'm super proud. I'm grateful because everything in life ends up working to the benefit of me. You know what I'm saying? There's a Bible verse in there, and I can't remember it 100%, but you know what? For the next time I'm going to remember it, I'm going to tell you what that is, right? But the moral of the story is that everything it is that happens in your life works to your benefit, right? And I believe that. Look at that. Is that I was sitting there doing pressure washing years ago, and now all of a sudden it has come back to yesterday, this past weekend, to be able to utilize those skills, utilize that knowledge, utilize that experience, and utilize those tools to my benefit, right? So whatever it is that you do, you want to be grateful for, right? No matter how small, no matter how big, you woke up this morning, that's gratitude. You want to practice doing it. The fact that you was able to brush your teeth, you didn't get rushed through it, and you was able to do it for the full 2 minutes. Be grateful for that, right? I mean, I'm telling you, there's so many things that you can be grateful for, and that's what I'm saying is that you got to start exercising that muscle, right? So now we know that the music could take us into a positive place, right? And now we sit here and we talking about how it is that we could take ourselves into a positive place by waking up every morning and talking about what it is that we're grateful for, right? What you want to do is you want to keep that mindset as much as possible in a positive mindset, right? In a motivated mindset. You're going to listen to me. You might get motivated. You might get inspired. But I'm telling you, as soon as the video stops, that motivation starts to drop. So what you need is you need those extra catalysts to be able to continue to drop that spark so that you can keep on with that motivation, right? Cool. So now I was talking to people and they told me, they said, listen, sometimes like I'm sitting here and I know what I got to do, but I keep getting these negative thoughts in my brain. And it keeps saying, I can't do it. It keeps saying it's going to be too difficult. It's like, listen, it's too late. Somebody else is better than you. You getting all these negative. I failed at this before. Last time I tried it, I fell short, right? You know, whatever. All of these negative feelings and thoughts start popping in your brain when you're trying to do something positive, right? That's the quote. Every time I try to get out, they pull me back in, right? That's the quote. Is you sitting here and you're trying to do something, but you keep getting these negative thoughts and these just deteriorating, the inspirational and motivational deteriorating type thoughts in your brain. Took me a little bit to get that, but that's what keeps popping up, right? Okay, I understand that. You know why? Because I've had them too. You see what I'm saying? Those are walls that I put up in the past. And it's natural to put them walls up, right? Because a natural human instinct is self-preservation, right? is that if you know that you're going to get hurt doing this, you naturally try to get away from that, right? I think there was like a study about sharks or something like that, and sharks just want to eat, sleep, and feel good, and that's it. That's the basic daily thoughts and life and emotion of a shark, right? That's all of us, right? Is that we want to not get hurt, we want to feel good, right? And we want to survive, we want to eat, right? And that's what we do all the time. Doesn't nobody need to tell you to breathe? Doesn't nobody need to tell you, hey, go eat, right? Because you'll go eat. I mean, I understand some people eat less. Some people, when they get depressed or whatever, they don't eat at all. But at some point, their body's going to be like, you need to eat something, right? So I think it's science, but like you can't plug your mouth and your nose and literally suffocate yourself, right? You know what I mean? You may be able to, or maybe there's some science thing, but I don't believe you can. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I tell you so many times, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a psychiatrist, I ain't a doctor. I'm telling you all of this stuff from things that I've read and practical life experience, right? And the application of those things that I have read and learned and applied them either to myself or with other people who are coached, and it works. You see what I'm saying? So anyways, so what are we going to do with these walls that we put in front of ourselves? What is it that we're going to do with these negative feelings that we have, right? Notice I said negative feelings, right? I keep going back and forth between negative thoughts and negative feelings. And it's because you have an emotional attachment to those thoughts, right? That's what's stopping you. You see what I'm saying? I failed at this before. I don't want to feel that way again. I fell short on this before. I don't want to feel that way again. I really had my hopes up and believed that this was going to come to fruition, and I was let down. I don't want to feel that way again. I gave my word and promised that I was going to be there for someone, and I fell short. I don't want to feel that again, right? So it's not necessarily the thought only, it's the emotional attachment that you have with that thought, right? So what I'm here to tell you today is that's how we change our mindset. Whatever it is that's pulling you back in, we need to turn around and we need to face that, right? Is that we need to stop trying to just move forward, right? And I'm not saying that you don't move forward at all. The attempt is still to move forward. But if you got an anchor that's pulling you, you have to address that anchor, right? You have to. And by being able to address that anchor, that's going to allow you to move forward. So the trajectory, the direction, the force is still moving forward, but we need to deal with these thoughts, right? Those walls that we put up, that emotional attachment that we have to those thoughts that keep popping up in our mind, right? So how do you do it? Like I said, you need to turn around, you need to deal with it. Even that alone is going to cause you some stress and anxiety, right? And that's okay. You can let those feelings in. You can experience them. Don't become them, right? Because the whole point is the reason why we turn it around is so that we can deal with those issues, right? So the issues that we have, right? I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist, okay? But like I said, I'm helping you out with practical applications. So when you turn back, you need to work through those issues. And that's going to be difficult, right? You may have been abused. You may have gone through some serious disease. A loved one may have passed away. You may have lost a job. You may have been the main breadwinner and now you ain't making nothing. You may have been healthy and now you're sick. You may have been physically fit at the top of your game and now you dropped. Whatever it is that you had, that you went through in the past, that's the past. So let's turn around and let's address it, right? I want you to explore it. I want you to really find your way through it, not to wallow in it. I don't want you to sit there and be like, yeah, this is the reason why I was so messed up in the first place. And this is, nah, that's not what I'm saying. Okay. What I'm telling you is I want you to work through it with purpose and intent. Okay, cool. Purpose and intent for what? I want you to work through it with the purpose and the intent of living it out to its completion. Don't allow the thoughts and that emotional attachment to bog you down today. And listen, I'm talking about this in negative, but it also applies for positive too. I'm going to touch on that real quick, then I'll go back to that negative because that's what we're really talking about, right? Is a lot of people hang their hat on their past positive accomplishments, right? Which then gives them the right in their own mind that they don't need to try so hard, that they've already reached their goal, right? That's not it. The process is the goal. The going through the process is the goal, and that's what it is, right? So I want you to remember when you're working through this, even if it is the worst possible thing that you could think of, you're here today. You understand what I'm saying? Whatever it was that stopped you before, whatever it was that held you down, excuse me, whatever it was that hurt you, whatever it is that made you feel lesser than, whatever it is that downgraded your value, I want you to remember that you're here today. You still alive and you still kicking, right? That memory of what it was, it may be hurting you, it may be slowing you down, but it didn't stop you because you're more powerful than that. You understand what I'm saying? You made it through. You busted through them walls. You made it through the trials. You made it through the tribulations. Yep, I get it. You've been burnt. You've been burnt. I understand that. I've been there. You've been placed under that pressure. You spent time in that fire. You've had the fire and the pressure and the pain. You came up from that fire. You rose from the ashes like a phoenix, and you still there, kid. You understand what I'm saying? That's what I mean about turning back and facing them old fears, facing those old trials and trepidations, whatever it is that emotional attachment is to those thoughts that came from actions, from experiences that you had. You still here today. And you doing it. You see what I'm saying? That's the power that I want you to focus on, right? And listen, I'm telling you this with some with gravitas, with energy, right? With all of these things, with everything it is that I possibly can to be able to get my message, to get my feeling, to get my energy and motivation into your mind, into your soul, into your spirit, right? Because you can do it. All of those things that happened in the past, that's why they're the past. Let's start living it right now, right? Start living in the positivity of right now. And that's where finding gratitude in everything it is that you do, that's where it comes into play, right? Listen, you've already defeated those old issues. You are living in your glory and in your success. If you let the emotional attachment that came with those issues to bog you down in a negative way, then it's going to prevent you from being able to move on to the next step. And this whole thing is a process, okay? The whole thing is a process. It's not that you've reached here today. Sure, that may have been a milestone. But the whole thing is about the process, about how you get into that next step and how you get into that next step. And everything really is just a slight pause. All right. Listen, this is the way that you clear your mind to the path to success. Because you already doing the right thing. You listening to these Make It Happen Mondays. You getting super duper motivational, right? You're getting your planning down, right? You're doing intense and extreme planning and making sure that you hold yourself accountable. You making sure that your word means something. You've got what it takes, right? So I want you to listen to this video. I want you to listen to past videos. Make sure that you're following all the steps as we go, right? We got this happening, right? And if you follow me, you're doing a great thing, right? Remember, everything that I'm telling you is really just about you being you. I'm not asking you to be nobody else. I'm asking you to be you. It's about you becoming the best you. And everywhere along that process, you still you, right? I ain't trying to have you be fake. I'm trying to have you explore yourself, right? To become better, to become bigger, to become more productive, right? Listen, in the words of my daughter, always be yourself. And remember, winners make things happen. Losers let things happen. My name is Pablo Rivera. Watch me make it happen.
When I'm in motion, I'm focused, thoroughly thought of my plans and the execution. You notice, ain't no time to think about it, only time to react. Your intuition under pressure, weigh you down on your back. I scribble thoughts in my palm, I sing it when I get home. Organize my inner visions while I'm chilling in calm.